Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Unlimited deck build, where today I'm bringing you something that I'm actually quite excited to present because it's good fun, it's something different, and it can ramp like absolute no one's business. That is the man, the myth, the lizard man himself, Bossk. When I say this deck can ramp, like, I've played a krayt dragon within turn 4. Turn 4 krayt dragon! Opposition, just deal with that! So, if you don't know what Bossk does, before you deploy him, he's got an action. You can deal 1 damage to a unit with a bounty, and you may give it +1 for this phase. You're not really going to give it the +1 unless it's your own unit. What you're going to use it for is to play a bounty on their side of the field. You're going to exhaust him and just keep prodding away until you can claim that bounty. When he's deployed, this is where the key part of the ramping comes in. When you collect a bounty, you can collect that bounty again. You can do that once per turn, but like, oh boy, you're going to ramp fast. Especially because you've got a bounty within your deck that allows you to put it into play as a resource. You could put 2 cards into play as a resource with that. Ooh! The aim of this deck is to get to your big boy units as fast as possible. And by big boy units, I basically mean your krayt dragon or equivalent if you haven't got any. Before we get into the actual deck, some of you are thinking, what actually is ramping? Ramping, in short, is basically putting cards into play as a resource faster than normal. So for instance, cards that say things like, you may put this into play as a resource and ready it. So you guys probably have seen this card before. Or another card you may use is something along the lines of resupply, where you could put it into play as a resource. So ramping up your resources faster than normal. Hitting things off with your ground units, we're going to start with 2 stolen land speeders. So, what this card does, when played, if you play it from your hand, your opponent takes control of it. So hopefully in turn 1, you get it in your hand, you give it to your opposition, so you can then activate Bossk, dealing 1 damage to it. But what this deck likes to do, and if you get it in your starting hand, is you give that to your opposition, it's got 2 health, and you've still got 1 resource available, because it only cost you 1, you then activate Dare and Raid, that does 2 damage to your unit or base. Why would you want to do that? You damage this for 2, you defeat it. When it's defeated, it's got a bounty, which reads, if you own this unit, play it from your discard pile and give an experience token to it. So, you can kill it and then play it, give an experience token, meaning you've got a 4 free unit ready for your next turn. This card is quite nice. I will admit, more often than not, they may get attack in with it, doing 3 damage, but then I found having that unit with the 4 attack going into your next turn is pretty nice. What is a bonus of having Dare and Raid in this deck is that if I've played it before where they've ended up shielding or giving this an experience token, you can do 3 damage to it still. Activate this to do 1 damage to it, Dare and Raid to finish it off. So, our next 1-cost unit within the deck is an unbelievably good card, and that is Dengar. I'm running 2 of them. I would 100% advise running 3, but I don't have 3, so that's why I've got 2. So, what this card does is when you play an upgrade on a unit, you can deal 1 damage to that unit. Honestly, it's insane. So turn 1, you have 2 resources. You play this card for 1. They play whatever they want on their side of the field. And in your hand, if you have a guild target or Bounty Hunter's Quarry, you can play either of these onto that unit, triggering Dengar to do 1 damage to it. Then you can activate Bossk to do another damage to it, more often than not killing them off in turn 1, and then you can claim that bounty almost immediately. And if it's your Bounty Hunter's Quarry, which we'll get to later, you can end up playing the card for free, which is, Dengar, very good card. 100% run free if you got them. Rounding up our 1-cost units, because I haven't got that 3rd Dengar, just run one of these. It's a nice little card, but like I said, if I had the Dengar, I would 100% drop it. So, this deck doesn't actually run any 2-cost units. Kind of. So, we're going to move on to our 3-cost units, which are Reputable Hunter. Run 3 of these. So, the reason I say kind of is because this card says, if an enemy unit has a bounty, this costs 1 less to play. So, it can be a 2-cost, and more often than not, early in the game, it is a 2-cost, but still solid stat line at a 3-4. And off our Bounty Hunter's Quarry, you can play this card. Before we carry on the units, I think it's important I let you know what Bounty Hunter's Quarry is. So it's a bounty card that when you claim the bounty, you can search the top 5 cards of your deck, or 10 if it's a unique unit, for a unit that costs 3 or less and play it for free. So we try and play quite a few 3 or less units so we can just kind of swarm the board early on. But the main card you're trying to hit with that Bounty Hunter's Quarry, and a big part of your ramping, you guys need no introduction to this card. Super Laser Technician, run 3 of them. It's such a good card. It's such a good ramp card. You need it in your deck. If you can trigger your Bounty Hunter's Quarry turn 1 and hit one of these, you can have a Super Laser Tech out on turn 1. That means turn 2, you can potentially ramp into an additional resource straight away. It makes opposition think, because they think, do I actually play a unit? Because if I do, he's going to ramp faster because he's got this out. But then if they don't, I can just keep hitting their base with my land speeder and my technician. So, very good card. Like I said, you guys know all about this card by now. Run 3 of them. It's so good. Our next free cost unit surprised me of how good it actually is. It's Toro Calican. You want to run 2 of these? So, for a start, for a free cost, a 3/5 is solid. So solid. And it's got a pretty nice effect too. So, what this card says is, when you play another Bounty Hunter unit, you can deal 1 damage to that unit, and if you do, ready this up. So it's just nice to keep readying up to attack your bounty targets. The amount of times I've had a card on their side of the field with a bounty on it, and then I've just played a Bounty Hunter, readied him up, finished it off, claimed the bounty. I feel like that's kind of what he's designed for. But yeah, run 2 of these. It's a very nice card. 3/5 stat line at the end of the day is solid anyway. But just a nice little utility, nice little push for this deck. Rounding up our free cost units is our Cell Block Guard, just so we can have a Sentinel to slow some decks down. If you've got a Dark Trooper, run that instead. I don't have any of them, so I'm running the Cell Block Guard. But Dark Trooper's just Cell Block Guard, but better, so why wouldn't you run it? But yeah, for those who haven't got it like me, run a Cell Block Guard, okay? Okay, moving on to our 4 cost units. We're going to start things off with Django Fett. I run 2 of them. I know in theory you think, why not run 3? It's a bounty deck and he's like the key bounty hunter. But the reason I don't run 3 is because you ramp so fast most of the time anyway, this card isn't really that useful. And you don't always have bounties on the field, because you're normally claiming them quite fast or defeating them quite fast. But what this card does is, while attacking a unit with bounty, this gets +3 and overwhelm. Like, that is insane. Don't get me wrong. This is a very good card. But you just tend to get the bounties cleared anyway. It's got another little effect as well. When this unit attacks and defeats a unit, draw a card. That's nice. Like, it is good. And if you do have a bounty you really need to get rid of, this card can hit extremely hard. Especially with one of your events helping it out, which is Timely Intervention, which gives it ambush. So in theory, you can ambush on your 5 resource turn with a 6 attack card. This card's nice. Like I said, I don't use it that much, but it is nice to have in there. For our 5 cost, we only run 1. That's our Chrysanthemum. So when played, if an opponent has a bounty, you can ready this unit. So again, if it has a bounty, you can just have it ready. Then on attack, choose a ground unit. You can deal 1 damage to it for each damage on this unit. It's nice. I don't really play it often within this deck, so normally it's resourced. But it's nice to have in there. That's our 5 cost units done. Move on to our 6 cost. We'll actually run 2 Pirate Battle Tanks. This is a card I didn't run at first. Then I started with 1, and I thought, actually, this is a really nice card. I can put up to 2. Main reason is just a 6 health Sentinel that hits back for quite a lot of damage. I found, while I'm trying to just stall it out so I can get to my big units like the Krayt Dragon, this card just really hinders people in their decks. When you're playing like a Sabine matchup as well, being able to ramp and get this Sentinel out fairly early really causes them an issue. They have to attack it 2, maybe 3 times, and because of the damage of this card, it normally kills each unit that it attacks as well. So this card is a really, really nice card. I was thinking of running 3, but then I was like, no, I think 2's the sweet spot for it. If you do run 3, let me know how it turns out for you. Now we're going to start turning to some of the absolute powerhouses of this deck. First one is, we're going to run Maul. We got 2 of them. I would run 3 if I had 3, but even at 2, this card is just so good. I think everyone knows what this card can do by now, but if not, on attack, well, it even has ambush for a start, so you can just attack immediately. Then on attack, I can choose another friendly underworld unit. If I do, all combat damage that would be dealt to this card during this attack can go to that other underworld unit instead. More often than not, I put it onto the tank, but still, this maul is, oh my goodness, how many games has this come out within this deck and rescued it for me, or just really slowed the opposition up? Honestly, this is creme de la creme of the deck. I probably said that wrong, but I love it. And also it's Maul. He's really cool. How can you not like it? He's just so good. And it kind of fits with the Underworld Bounty Hunters. But yeah, Maul, got free, run free. I know he's a difficult card to pull. Like, I've opened quite a few packs. I've only got 2 of them. Don't think he's that expensive though. But yeah, free, run free. I can't stress enough how good he is. And the last but not least, everyone knew this unit was coming. Your 9-cost unit, the Krayt Dragon. I've been extremely lucky and pulled free in different variants. So yeah, run free if you can. But I know it's an expensive card. I know people can't really get a hold of them. But if you can, run them. If you can't, run other cost units, like big units that can hit hard. Maybe your reinforcement walkers, maybe your Vaders if you got them. Have something you want to ramp into. Maybe even a big space unit if you want to. But have something you want to close games with. Because Krayt Dragon in this deck, you get to it 9 times out of 10 and it just wins you out games. What this card does, for those who don't know, when an opponent plays a card, you may deal the damage equal to that card's cost to their base or ground unit they control. Like, it just, it really makes them think what they want to do. They have to deal with this. If they don't, they lose. And if they don't kill it, the turn it comes out, then next turn you just attack for 10. And even have Sentinel, it just overwhelms them. Like, I know this card costs a lot to get to. But honestly, I've got to it most games because of the crazy ramp within this deck. This card's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The best time I had with it definitely is when I played a Cad Bane deck at locals the other week. It just couldn't deal with the ramp. And then as soon as I got Krayt Dragon out, the opposition just went, yeah, you win. Like, I can't kill it. And the one time he did take it down, the next turn, I just played another Krayt Dragon. So, yeah, this card is what you want to get to. And to be honest, it's your win condition. You can win without it, but this is like what you're trying to get to. So, with the ground units done, we're going to move on to our space units, which we're going to start with a free cost, no less than that. We don't run too many space units, but what we run is quite nice. We start with the punishing one, run 2. Would potentially run 3, but because it's a unique unit, you can kind of get clogged up on them. This card in this deck is so good. So when an upgraded unit is defeated, enemy unit is defeated, you can ready this unit. You can only do it once per turn. But literally, it's just, with the amount of bounties you are playing, and with the amount of bounties you are claiming, it's just always readying up. And you may think, oh, it's only a 3 damage, but it adds up. So the turn you even play it, more often than not, they've got a bounty on their side. You defeat it, attack for free. Next turn, he's ready up, attack for free. Normally have another bounty, you defeat it, ready up, attack for free. Like, it just really adds up really quickly. And because it's got 4 health, it actually becomes a big problem for your enemies. And the one thing I love, it deals with tie lurking phantoms so well. Because if you attack into it, it can't kill it. But we can kill it. And, oh, this card's good. Really, really good. Okay, our next free cost space units. We've got 2 Black Sun Starfighters. I would potentially run 3, but I think 2 is the sweet spot for it. Because I found 3 I was clogging up too much. It's just nice having a Sentinel in space. Yet again, if you've got the lurking phantoms, it deals with it. And anything else that may be out there, it just helps slow them up in space. Our next free cost unit is the card you're going to start seeing a lot more on my deck builds because I think it's really good at the moment. It's Disabling Fang Fighter. So run 2 of them. 3 yet again is too much, and to be honest I normally drop it down to 1 when side in. But when you do play against upgrading decks and other bounty decks, this card is beautiful. And to round up our space units, we're actually going up to a 6 cost, bit of a jump. And it's kind of a staple now in most red and black villainy decks, is our Ruthless Radar. You want to run 2 of them. lovely card. So when played, or when defeated, deal 2 damage to a base and 2 damage to an enemy unit. Sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes you're really struggling to ramp. But you've got a bounty on this side of the field. They've sentineled, you can't get to that bounty. It's got 2 health left. You can just go Ruthless Raider, 2 damage. I'll take that bounty. Thank you very much. It just helps deal with stuff. As I said in my last deck build, if you haven't seen, definitely go watch it. It just helps do a little bit of prod damage, like just to help deal with these sentinels with shields. And to be honest, it's quite a bit of pressure onto their units and base. And now we're probably going to move on to one of the most important parts of the deck, and that is our events and upgrades. The reason it's so important, we're running a bounty deck with a bounty hunter. We haven't done really any bounties yet. We need some bounties. So, first one, guild target. To be honest, it's only in here because I haven't got a third of our next one. But if I had a third, I'd drop it. But still, it's quite nice. So, and it costs 0. So you can literally play it turn 1 and still do your plays. So yeah, moving on to our next event or upgrade that costs 1 is our Bounty Hunter's Quarry. We've got 2 in here, but like I said, if you've got a third, 100% run a third over guild target. This card is insane. Like, I've read it when I got it in my pre-release event. I thought, that's good. But no, it's really good. So, what this card does, as I said earlier in the video, but just in case you missed it, attach unit gains bounty. You can search the top 5 cards of your deck, or 10 if it's a unique unit. For a unit that costs 3 or less, play it for free. Like, it's so good. Especially within this ramp deck, because what you want to try and hit is your Super Laser Technician. Play it out as a free Super Laser Tech that you can then use to hit the opposition with, which is gorgeous. Not just that, it helps you swarm the board. And if you get it out with when you deploy the Bossk Leader, you can end up playing 2 units for free. So you can quickly end up just swarming the board with so many units that the opposition just can't deal with it. So yeah, this card is a must, 100% run free. I've got 2, so yeah, unfortunate, but run free if you can. What I'd suggest, if you haven't got any of these bounties that I've used in this video, try and see if you can put another bounty. Just have some bounties in there that you can use. Staying with our 1 cost events, and it's a card that I don't see many people use within their decks, but I think it's really good, and that is Dare and Raid. Like, I run 3 of them. This is a card probably if you wanted to drop a couple, you could probably drop this, but I think it's just too good not to. What it does, deal 2 damage to a unit or base. It just gives you that prodding damage, which I really, really like. Like I said, this works really well with your Stolen Land Speeder. The amount of times I have just gone turn 1, have a Stolen Land Speeder, then okay, and then they do whatever they want, then I just go, okay, Dare and Raid, defeat it, get it back. Like, oh, not just that, it works with your bounties as well. Like, the amount of times in turn 1 I haven't actually played a unit, but I've like played your Bounty Hunter's Quarry, done the 1 damage with Bossk, done Dare and Raid to finish it off, and then I get to play a unit for free, and they're down a unit. Like, I don't get why you wouldn't use Dare and Raid. I'm confused when I see people running Bossk in these colours and they don't use it. I just think it's got a lot of potential and a lot of combo potential and action potential. I just really like it. I'm a big fan of it. I run free. Okay, moving on to our last 1 cost is our Timely Intervention. I run 2. I'm very thinking of running 3. If I did, I think 3 just got too much. But what this card does, it gives, you can play a unit and give it ambush. It's just a free +1 on a unit with ambush. You can also smuggle it for 2, which is really nice. To be honest, I don't use this card very often from my hand for 1. It's normally in my resources. And then I activate it just for 1 more to then ambush something out. Like, these cards is really, really good. I would highly suggest running them. Like, obviously it's in my deck build. I'm not too sure why I just said that. But yeah, it's a very good card. I have actually ambushed out the Krayt Dragon, which is quite funny, seeing their reaction. Yeah, great. Timely Intervention, great card. Minimum 2, use it. Okay, moving on to our 2 cost events and upgrades. That is Price on the Head. You want to run 3 of them. Unbelievable card within this deck. One of your main ramps within the deck, like this card plus, well, the next card is the main reason it can ramp so consistently. So, what this card does, obviously you attach it to an enemy unit, it gains bounty, and it's put the top card to play as a resource. So it's just a free ramp. Like I said, this card, ooh, with Bossk, ooh. So the amount of times I have played this on like my 5 resource turn, I've normally ramped into, and then deployed Bossk, attacks that unit it's attached to, and then just instantly ramped up to 7 resources, which becomes 8 when I resource in the next turn. Like, oh, it's so good. So good. I'm very happy to see this card within my hand. The best and most optimal one you can do is literally this on top of your Bounty Hunter's Quarry to get out your Technician, on top of our next card, which I'm just going to spoil it now, Resupply. Like, you can go ramping like it's no one's business. Honestly, you can ramp so fast. I keep saying that and I apologise. Anyway, our next one, Resupply. Got 2 of them. I'm thinking of 3. I am really, really close to running 3. But I just feel like with all the other ramping options, with our Technician, the Bounty Guild, and this, it just gets too much. So 3 Technicians, 3 of those bounties, that's 6, plus 2 is 8. That's 8 ramp cards. You could add another one if you want 9, but yeah. 2 resupplies. I prefer this to Technician personally, because Technician you have to attack. This you can just activate it. But the main reason Technician is so good within this deck is mainly due to Quarry playing it for free. To round up our free cost events, we've got 2 open fires, just a nice removal. The amount of times, yet again, they've played a pesky unit, I've attached a bounty and just gone, open fire, defeat it, I'll have that bounty, thank you. It's just really, really nice one. It's nice for red, because red hasn't got too many options for removal. But this, plus Dare and Raid, lovely. To round up our events, and probably still one of the best cards in the game since set 1, Overwhelm Barrage, run free. Like, it's just such a good card. It doesn't really need much introductions, I'm probably sure to many of you. But for those that are not sure what it does, give a friendly unit +2/+2 for this phase. Then it deals damage equal to its power divided as you choose among any number of other units. Honestly, so good. Like, these two just work together so well. Because more often than not, you're ramping into 5 resources pretty fast. He comes out early. Like, I don't think I've ever actually played him on the turn he should. Like, I've always brought him out early. And people just can't deal with this. And most times on a win, yet again, this is the reason why, this 2 combo. Like, Overwhelm Barrage, it should be in all your green villainy decks. But within this deck, 100%, it's so good. Like, run it. If you're not, what are you doing? Run it. Okay, if you're sideboard, just a heads up with the sideboard, it's pretty much whatever you feel is right, and it's always changing while I understand the game more. But at the moment, I've gone for 2 more Cellblock Guards to help slow up those aggro decks if you need it, so basically your Sabines. The next one is you're going to run a 3rd open fire in here, just because it helps with that removal, so if you are playing decks where you just can't get to the bounties, you can really just hit over it with your open fire. You've got a 3rd resupply. If you're really feeling like you're not getting enough ramp, then you can run this if you want to. I feel like you're enough, but I can understand why you want to run it, but it's there if you want it. Then our next one, we've got a 3 of. If you saw my last video, you know how much I love this card at the moment. We also run Disabling Fangfighter, same sort of reason as Confiscate. If you're playing those sorts of decks, you might as well play another one. And then to finish off our side deck, the reason this is in here, we've got Consortium Star Viper, we run 2 of. If you're playing a deck where you feel like you just need a little bit more time to get your resources out there to slow them up, then it just that Restore 2 is really, really nice just to help you heal, to help you against these aggression matchups. Because this deck, which we're about to get into with the matchups, can struggle against the hyper aggression decks. Final thoughts on the deck and our matchups. So, as I've just mentioned, it can really struggle against your hyper aggressive decks like your Sabines if you don't pull the right cards. But that's when I'd highly advise siding your Sentinels, your Star Vipers to try and slow the game up. Because what you're trying to do with this deck is get those big units out. Either your krayt dragons, like I've got, or whatever your equivalent is. Because like I said, this deck can ramp and ramp and ramp. What else is this deck good against? So it's good against Cad Bane, like I mentioned. It's also good against your more control-y decks lots of the time. Because the control decks are trying to stall you out and so forth. And it's kind of goes into your hands of just trying to get your krayt dragon. But the main thing you need to watch out for is your hyper aggro decks. That's where your side deck comes in. Make sure to let me know what you think of this deck within the comments. Like I said, sorry I can't really show many combos with this deck like as I go, but just I found this deck is very much, it's dependent on what they do and how you respond to it. But yeah, this is a very fun deck. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. It's something I'm keeping together and playing and bringing along with me all the time to locals. So yeah, if you make any change or anything, let me know. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one.